Hi, I'm Kathleen Randolph, and I'm here with Bonnie Ratner. She is with CARE. She's a consultant with CARE, which is the Committee Addressing Racial Equity here in the community. Bonnie, if you could please tell us a bit about CARE and why CARE is a part of this event.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Thank you. CARE, Committee Addressing Racial Equity, is a part of South Sacramento County Visions, and I have been a community building consultant with Visions for about 4 years now, working in partnership with the Department of Neighborhood Services in Sacramento County and working out in the community. And it never fails that wherever I go in the community, when we talk about challenges as well as assets, the media always comes up in both regards. And South Sacramento, if you ask anybody what is South Sacramento, you're going to get a million different answers. So the issue of community identity is very important in South Sacramento, and media plays a tremendous part in that. And South Sacramentans will say often that the media doesn't really portray their community the way that they would like to have it portrayed. And so this has to do with raising the image of the community, and it also has to do with the way that media works with communities of color. So the Committee Addressing Racial Equity is particularly interested in seeing how media can be a partner in improving the community, so it doesn't necessarily promote negative stereotyping, and it promotes what's going on in the community to address issues, not just the issues themselves.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. We'll be back later with Carol Wright, and she's going to do some wrap up and tell us about the process of as far as what went on today in this actual meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I'd like to welcome all of you. This is the second of a series of media forums organized by the Sacramento Media Group. And the forum has been authorized by the Committee Addressing Racial Equality, or CARE. So that's one of the main groups that we're working with tonight. Of course, we are very happy to host this event for everybody here tonight, for the South Sac Visions Group, of course. I hope tonight leads to a lively discussion and some strong partnerships between the media and the community. I really hope that works out well tonight. We got a good turnout, ask a lot of questions, and see if we can get some discussion going tonight.
This is a great opportunity to explore a very important subject, in particular how the media views communities and how it treats communities. The media is often responsible for creating the images and impressions of communities. So how they characterize a community is extremely important.
It's my pleasure to introduce Joanne Fuller of the Sacramento Media Group, California Common Cause.
This evening really belongs to you. We really want to hear from you. So we've had a planning group with CARE Visions folks and the Sacramento Media Group folks to plan this evening, and we're really excited to see so many people out and ready to go.
I don't have a clear expectation more than just an opportunity to give some input about how media can sometimes erroneously portray the South Sacramento area, and what things could possibly be done to make South Sacramento not have such a stigma, and to hear what other people have to say.
My name is Marjorie Beezer. I'm a member of the Committee Addressing Racial Equity, or CARE, which is one of the partners with Access Sacramento and others here in Sacramento County who are passionate about bringing the media and other entities into the conversation about race, about equity, and about creating a community that benefits us all and that we can all enjoy. My task this evening is to ask this panel, this illustrious panel, one question, and each will have 3 minutes to respond. Let me introduce them. Loretta Kalb. She's a staff writer with the Sacramento Bee. We also have Mr. Ben Ilfeld, and he is Chief Operating Officer of the Sacramento Press. We also have Mr. Anzio Williams. He's News Director of KCRA TV and KQCA TV. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Ron Cooper, Executive Director of Access Sacramento. This evening's question is, how does the media impact the way neighbors think about each other? If each panelist, starting with Mr. Williams, if we could take you one by one, 3 minutes, could you give us a response to that question?
I can tell you what our hopes and wishes are, that once you have watched one of our newscasts, that you come away having a good sense of everything that is kind of going on in our overall community today. KCRA and KQCA, we cover we have a huge coverage area. We go anywhere from, just south of Redding, all the way over to Lake Tahoe, all the way to Fairfield, Vacaville area, and then just a little bit north of Merced, south of Modesto. So that's a huge coverage area, and so I always tell folks our main goal and objective in a half-hour newscast is to kind of give you some sense of what is happening in the Northern California area. Our goal is, we certainly understand that most of our newscasts is usually starting off with some type of breaking news, some type of crime event, something that has kind of happened in our particular area. But if you continue to watch that newscast, we will hope that our newscast is representative of what has happened in our viewing area that particular day. Some days we fall short in that, but I would say most of the days when we go back and we kind of take a look at what we do, we feel strongly about the direction that we're going in. I always tell my producers, everybody's not going to be a victim of crime today. Everybody's not going to be shot today, robbed today. So we need to make sure that we kind of balance our newscast, what's in our newscast, and kind of balance it out. We also will hope that we are showing a lot of different faces of diversity, on television. That's one of the real reasons why I got into TV as a young kid growing up. I always saw black males on TV in handcuffs. I never saw them in positive ways and positive roles, whether it was experts and doctors or either just reporters or anchors on TV. So that was kind of one of my missions and goals of kind of getting into television. So we know that we have a major impact in the community. We know that people are more likely to sit down and watch, television and form opinions and determine how they're going to act or react. And we try to respond to what we're hearing from our community.
Ms. Kalb.
Okay, thank you. This is a difficult question because I tend to think in broader terms, neighborhoods and communities instead of individuals, but I think the individuals is where it all ends up in the end. How do neighbors think about each other, and how does the media affect that? I like to think that we start out as a reflection of what's in the community. We're certainly not driving how neighbors are going to think about one another, but when there's something to report and we report it, then whatever gets into the newspaper becomes good grist for relating to an individual, relating to the entire community. And so it's difficult to separate one from the other. I don't know that I've ever read anything that made me feel differently about my neighbors. Like most of my neighbors, and nothing's going to change very easily with that. But I do recall one story I wrote about beehives being operated in residential areas of Elk Grove. And I reported that story, and I think there was some better understanding about the process of having bees and how they need not necessarily be a scary thing for neighbors. And it might have opened some eyes about how good bees can be for a community. So that's a very small example of what can happen, but I have to look at it in a much more global way, and that's what I try to do.
Mr. Cooper.
Thank you. As you can see from the cameras here, we're all about community media. And some of you may be very familiar with Channel 17 and 18 and The Voice Community Radio and our website, accesssacramento.org. Some may be brand new to that. So part of what I'm here tonight and involved in this, and our cameras are here as well, because neighborhood news is really what we're all about, and in the future attempting to get better at. We offer training classes for everybody in Sacramento County, and we teach you how to do radio and television about your stories. It's all about your communities, and I brought along some copies for those interested of a San Jose Mercury News article just from today. And I'd just like to quote the author, Chris O'Brien, on a very important point, and I think one of the reasons why we're all interested in here this evening. Every advance in communications technology expands the possibilities for American democracy, but every information system also creates potential winners and losers. This is from the Knight Foundation and Aspen Institute study. In a democracy, the very idea of second-class citizenship is unacceptable. Yet for many, second-class information citizenship is looming. So we're speaking about a change in technology. I'm of the generation that we watch Channel 3 News and I read the Bee every morning. But for young people, especially under 30, 35 years old, they rarely read a newspaper and seldom watch television. And this is a crisis for all traditional media right now. It's changing to the internet, to websites, to blogs. So part of our role is to learn those technologies, to really encourage the institutional thinking to include broadband for all residents, so everyone has access to the internet, and training and use of equipment to reach that information on the internet, which is so important to our democracy. So we're in a period of transition that is challenging, but at the same time, with those challenges, tremendous opportunities to literally speak on a world stage. And with that, I think Ben has got one of the great models of where this is all going.
Thanks. I'm Ben Ilfeld. For the most part, I'm just the operations manager for the Sacramento Press, but I'm transitioning to a new role as COO and kind of overseeing a larger organization. We do community news. We do neighborhood news. And we do it primarily for downtown and midtown Sacramento. We started in Southside Park, and one of the reasons we started in Southside Park was that it was underrepresented in the media and the most diverse neighborhood in downtown Sacramento. It has been a challenge. I want to speak directly to diversity and some of the challenges, because one of the things that the internet allows you to do is escape to an identity that is separate from your neighborhood. So you can gather with your virtual community of people like you, whatever they may be, people who speak your language or look like you or have the same political beliefs as you do. And there is a loss of a sense of neighborhood and community. And you have to actively engage as the media into the community to find new voices and diverse voices if you're going to have a diverse representation. And I can tell you on our site, I'm particularly unhappy with diversity as it's represented on the Sacramento Press. There just doesn't seem to be enough of it, and it doesn't represent, in my mind, Midtown and downtown, let alone South Sacramento, where there is a richness of diversity. So I guess I have a little bit more of a somber message. We have all the technology. We have people and training and workshops, and we try to encourage everybody, but that's not enough. And I really want to broaden the discussion a little bit to speak about media today is interactive. It's being created by people, not just by ivory towers. And if media is being created by people, and they're using tools like the internet, video cameras, cell phones, things like that, then it's really crucial that we examine who holds the skills and the actual tools to do this. The digital divide is real, and it's fairly scary for somebody running an organization like ours that wants to reflect the community to know that our community doesn't all have access to the tools that they need in order to speak their own voices about what's going on in their neighborhoods and communities. And then even when they get those tools, it still is difficult for us, and it's one of our primary challenges, to get out and speak to those people about actually interacting with one another and doing so as a neighborhood instead of retreating to our own identity or class or whatever, our Facebook friends, instead of engaging in an open and free space. And then, of course, getting together in physical spaces like this. So I just kind of like to put those challenges out there that the digital world is not all hunky-dory, and I know it from kind of hand-to-hand combat.
Thank you. Thank you again to all of our panelists for their rich, thoughtful responses.
I'm very excited to be part of this media forum. I think there are a lot of issues and challenges that exist within our community, and I think the best way to address that is to bring community members together to be able to just talk.
My name is Carol Wright, and I'm one of your facilitators for the evening. And first of all, I'd like to thank all of our panelists for those wonderful responses. You've given us plenty of food for thought, and hopefully a lot of food for conversation as well. We're going to be moving around a lot this evening during this process that we call World Cafe. Now, the idea of this process is that all of you are going to be responding to the same question that our panelists responded to. You should all have two big pieces of chart paper on your table with a purple cloud in the middle that contains the question. I'm inviting each of you to think about your response to that question. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to think about it quietly, and then I'd like to invite each of you to write down your comments, depict them on that paper, either in words or pictures or symbols. At that point in time, we're going to ask for one of you to volunteer to be the table reporter and talk to the other people at your table about what they've written or drawn on the paper. The idea is to get all of the diverse opinions in the room out and find out what people are really thinking about the impact that the media has on how we think about each other, our neighbors. At the end of 20 minutes, everyone at your table, except for that person who has volunteered to be your table reporter, will pick up your belongings, get up from your table, and move to another table and have that conversation with a whole new group of people at another table for another 20 minutes. The idea is that we're going to mix up our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas about this very important question. At the end of that 20 minutes, we're going to take a break. We're going to synthesize all of that information that you've put on your chart paper. And when we come back, we're going to attack a new question. And at the end, before the meeting's over, you will get to hear the feedback about what your neighbors think about the answers to these questions. When other people at your table are talking, when one person at the table is talking, listen very deeply and intently and see what you gather from what they have to say before you offer your opinion or feedback. Okay, let's have fun now. 20 minutes, round one.
I think a lot of the news that we see is just human nature. It reflects the simplest story to tell. Somebody died today. Somebody went to jail today. Somebody got in a wreck today. So I think a lot of times it's so superficial.
And I think that's what's frustrating. I'm not angry. I'm frustrated, but I'm not angry. What I'm not angry with, I just see how it determines how other people look at us.
Hi, I'm standing here with Anzio Williams. He's the news director at KCRA. He's here at the community event, which is focusing on how does the media influence the way you feel about your neighborhood. Anzio, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. How does KCRA, or any news station for that matter, choose their leads and what they're going to run for their feature story?
You know, we have a very simple philosophy, and a lot of it for us is news is what's new. And, you know, you take the word news and you look at the first three letters, and that's NEW, and that's what's new. And we're living in a news cycle. We're living in a world where things are happening 24 hours a day. We can publish things 24 hours a day. So from things being published on the web, all day long, by the time our newscasts come on, we have to be presenting new information. So for a lot of times, it comes down to kind of what's happening right now or what's the last thing that's happened. And then outside of that, then we also are approaching things that we believe has the most impact on our greater community. Television station like KCRA, we have a large viewing area. So many times we are addressing an issue in one part of our viewing area that folks in another part may not care about. But as a television station and as an editorial team, what we do every day is we sit back and kind of decide how can we put as much in a half-hour newscast along with commercials, weather, and sports. How much news can we cram in there? And so usually it starts off with kind of like what's the new part? What are we telling people new that they haven't had the opportunity to read in the newspaper this morning or to get on the website before we've come on TV?
I think it's going really good. The purpose is to get dialogue from everyone, have an open dialogue, and be relaxed about being open and honest about their feelings, and I think that's taken place here.
That chime signaled the end of round one. How did that feel to everybody? Okay? You had enough time? Did everybody get to speak? Did everybody get a chance to express themselves? Does everybody have a table reporter? Can I get the table reporters to raise their hands? During the next round, the table reporters will not move, but everybody else will. Say goodbye to your table reporter and move to another table. Can I ask everybody to quickly find their place so we can get the next round started? And we're going to do the same thing again, except before people start writing down their thoughts and reflections, I would like to ask each table reporter to explain the comments that were left on the flip chart paper by the previous occupants of the table. So go around the paper, explain each comment, and then allow the new people at your table a few minutes to record their own thoughts. They could be thoughts in response to the comments on the paper already. They could be new thoughts. They could be expansions of the current thoughts already recorded.
I'm going to go around and tell you what the last group reported. Didn't think about so much about her own neighborhood, but how the media portrays South Sacramento and how others, not so much how she views her neighborhood, but how others view the neighborhood. And she felt, particularly for South Sacramento, that it was, in a negative image. The emphasis on sensation, if it leads, it leads, and that it kind of engenders fear in families, so that they're fearful of their neighbors.
We don't question the media. We don't hold the media accountable.
I mean, I know they can't do it all because of the fact is that they're going to, that they got to sell what they're doing, their product. They got to sell it to advertisers or to whatever else. But they need to get some way to put a more positive spin on what's going on once in a while.
Tonight's meeting, which is going extremely well, I think we're stressing the possibilities of the media versus our community in itself. When you get diversion like our community has, and the media sometimes overreacts, this is a good form to have to try to curb those problems or misunderstandings.
I am so glad to see everyone so engaged. It seems like people have a lot to say. I hope you haven't just been verbalizing it, but also recording it on your flip chart paper. And if you have any last final thoughts that you want to jot down or draw or symbolize real quick, do it now. The next thing we're going to ask is for each table reporter to take that piece of paper off the table and walk over here to where Bonnie Ratner is standing. Bonnie's waving right over there. Make sure the table reporter's name is on it in case we have to refer back to you for clarification. I'm going to ask you to return to your place that you're sitting in now And we will proceed to go through round 3 and address the second question.
Hi, I'm here with Ben Ilfeld. He is the Chief Operating Officer of SAC Press, and he was one of our panel, one of the panel guests that was here today. He represents the digital media to a large extent, and one of the things that Ben had mentioned in his intro was about the virtual community that's been created through the internet. And Ben, I just wanted to know if you would be willing to elaborate on that with us.
Sure. I mean, really, in terms of the in terms of the virtual community that's created by the internet, you know, we have this opportunity on the internet to kind of escape our own physical neighborhoods and go to the places where we identify the most with the other people that are there. So we have friends on Facebook. You know, I've got friends in Brazil and friends in Australia, and they're not my neighbors, but I know what they're cooking for dinner, right? And we have the opportunity to jump into specific niches, interest areas, things that we love. I love gadgets. I read blogs on gadgets all day. So I kind of know what that community is thinking, what they're feeling. But one of the things that gets left out are the physical communities in which we live, the geographies, the neighborhoods, and the people right next door. And it's within those communities that we have the most political power, the power to affect change that affects our everyday lives. The things that actually will make my life different, for the most part, aren't all the fun things that I have been doing on the internet. They're all the community things that a lot of times you have to do in real space. So the hope for the internet, for me, the hope is that you can merge the two. You can have a bridge between interesting, interactive spaces that promote community on the internet, that bring people to physical spaces to actually affect change and make things happen.
I thought it was very informative. I just wish that more people were here to see what it's about. And if they have another one, I will be here.
Hi, I'm here with Ben Walker. He is a resident of this area, and he's here for the forum discussion about how does the media influence the way you feel about your community? One of the things that Ben came out with in one of our breakout groups that was really interesting to me was that they have what's called a City of Hope, which is sponsored by his church, First Baptist Church. And what it does is it's 16 different churches that have come together and go out to actually meet your neighbors. But I'm going to let Ben talk to you a little bit more about it.
My name is Ben Walker. I'm a member of First Baptist of Elk Grove, and we are affiliated with 16 other churches that is going through the neighborhood or getting the neighbors to know their neighbor. And what a better opportunity for us to get to know each other is by having little small meetings, luncheons, and just community meetings like this. I'm glad this meeting occurred tonight. It'll give me something to take back to my members to let them know that the media is on to this also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. We appreciate your time. I think this is a great organization, and any of you that are in the area of Elk Grove and First Baptist Church should really reach out and become involved with this. Getting to know your neighbors helps to impact your community just as much as anything else. Thank you very much, Ben.
Table, we have one more question to explore together, and this is going to be a question that maybe you don't hear asked very often. I haven't heard it asked very often. We're hoping you're going to be as engaged as you were in the 2 rounds that you've already done. And your question this time is, how can the media and community be powerful partners for community improvement? So I know that you have surfaced maybe some of the challenges in the first couple of rounds, and now we would like you to think about how this very important institution that we have in our community and the community itself can work together as partners for community improvement. You're going to come up with a list of suggestions this time, okay? Because we're really asking you for suggestions. And then we're going to go around the room, and I'm going to ask for one idea per table.
The exact question is, how can the media and community be powerful partners for community improvement? And what are our recommendations?
They need to cover more positive things other than just crime.
See, Sacramento is the most diverse city in America. we all work together.
I think the dialogue is the biggest part. I think just opening up that circuit and being able to interact with people who can maybe tell people like us who want to get our news coverage how to go about doing it in a more effective way. I know for me personally, I've sent out, tons of press releases for events in South Sac that are really positive, but they don't necessarily get covered.
All right, I saw great lists emerging, and we're really excited to hear about some of your recommendations and this new partnership that's going to form in Sacramento between the media and the community. So Marjorie has a microphone, and we're going to call on people. We're going to ask for one idea per table.
Hi, I'm Zanae Scott, and I'm at the best table in the house. And one of our responses, we have a wonderful list, but one of our responses that we've talked a lot about was having the media be a vehicle to restore our communities. So as much as you can tell the negative story, definitely tell that positive story. So one of the analogies that we had is the downstream story.
The story of the downstreamers, one of the things that happens is that there's a town of folks that live downstream, and they were really, really good at collecting all of the bodies that came downstream. The question one day was asked, well, what's happening upstream? And I think that that is the way we have to begin to be able to approach this media question, is that if we are not looking at ways to build our community and to ask the question about what's happening upstream, then is media really being used to its fullest potential to protect and honor our communities? There's a murder every day, but hell, what's happening upstream?
What is the story upstream? What's happening upstream? Thank you. Who's next?
Hello, my name is Jesse Reese. I'm a member of the Meadowview Development Committee, president of Meadowview Neighborhood Association. And also, I feel that I'm at the best table in the house. Okay, one of the things that we talked about, there was several, but the one thing that I thought about highlighting is have the news professionals interact with the community in a more positive aspect, and in that respect, I'm saying be proactive. Don't wait until something negative happens and run out there and want to talk about the negative things. Me and my neighborhood, I want to focus on all the positive things. I think we all have those same sentiments. And also, I think it'd be nice if they got together with the community leaders and perhaps come up with some kind of class to have people not afraid to really talk to the media. And prime example is the young lady said earlier, anybody want to be on the media, sit at these two tables, and anyone that don't want to be on the coverage, head toward the back. It was an immediate stampede. So I'm thinking with that being said, again, be proactive, come out to my community, talk to me about the positive things, and I still think that we all in the same room here have those same sentiments. And if we do a media blast, run over each other and come on out there.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Hello, folks. My name is Henry Harry, and I'm at the best table tonight. Some of our recommendations were to give the community an opportunity to involve the media in real-time stories to help them get the information out quicker. And one of the ideas was using the internet and maybe something like Twitter. And then we want the media to have real-time stats on their websites or TV regarding the sentencing of young men and women down at the courthouse. Because I believe, I put up this idea that if the community knew how many of these young folks were getting large amounts of times, it would inspire us to do more. And then someone wanted to hold the media accountable by holding events and rallies to hold the media accountable. And then someone had an idea of getting more citizens, journalists involved with the media. That's about it for us.
Thank you, Henry. Who's next?
I think our table is really phenomenal.
No.
Yeah, really. And I'll limit it to just one idea. I actually thought this was kind of interesting. It was brought up that a lot of times the media doesn't identify accurately or precisely the neighborhood in which something happens. because they want to make it as big a story as possible. So something happened in South Sacramento, and that'll be the lead, and then everyone wants to read it or tune in because it's in their neighborhood, South Sacramento. It's a huge area, and the neighborhoods are really diverse. So it might be better and more responsible to really focus on intersections rather than larger areas or even large neighborhoods, and really say this is where it happened. It also helps citizens really identify where there are patterns of problems or good things that are going on. So I think it's kind of important, especially in this day and age, when you do things on the internet, you can very easily include a map to show precisely where the event happened and mash it up with the geography. So anyway, that's what our fantastic table delivered. So.
I saw a lot of heads nodding there, and I know from working in South Sacramento for a number of years that that is an issue that comes up a lot.
Okay, we say the media, we insist each new TV newscast have at least one in-depth community news story of at least 5 minutes each evening. And the newsprint should have a story about a positive community activity that is going on, meaning you reach out to the ethnic and the diversity in the area rather than just going on the news of today.
We feel that media should be involved with community organizations, and there should be articles on community organizations and our people that live in that community.
Our group focused a lot on creating a dialogue with the media. I think sometimes we felt in our different relations with them that we were underrepresented or just didn't really have a voice. And so I think part of that is forums like these where we're actually able to interact with the media, ask our questions, ask how we get events covered or what we could do better, you know, just to get heard. And so I think a lot of that is happening right now, and we just like to see more of that.
So even like a co-education process, right? Talking to each other.
Our table is awesome.
Yay!
The kind of the main theme that we talked about was that the media and community can become powerful partners by taking a relationship-based approach. And with that relationship-based approach, people in the community need to understand that the media is going to do what any business in America is going to do, and that's do what makes them, makes them money. And having that understanding, asking the media to listen, to provide stories that represent a balance. And then on the flip side of that, as a community, as individuals in the community, being willing to take action. If you see something that's being misreported, send an email, do something about it. And one of the examples that we had, Matthew talked about, you have the general South Sac area, and then we all know that there are different pockets within South Sac. So if you have the different pockets, the different people in those pockets providing stories, feel-good stories, negative stories, whatever stories that are happening in their area, and then you send that to all those different pockets, send it to one newsletter that is South Sacramento, and then monthly, quarterly, however, you send that newsletter to the big media groups and say, hey, this stuff is happening all the time. And then going back to that relationship-based approach, it's on the media to take these stories and read them and do something with it. And it's also on the community to keep sending them information, keep representing ourselves, keep letting them know, because the fact is people are attracted to the sensational kind of stories. One gentleman told us that when the feel-good stories are on, people shut off or they tune out. So it's a balance and just kind of doing something about it. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So it's a relationship, and it takes two in a relationship.
So at our table, small but powerful, we came up with this idea of community video reporting of news and opinion. And if you go on like CNN.com, you'll see a lot of the iReporters, where they have their own cameras and they pretty much rant and rave about something that's going on in their community or political news. And so we were thinking that it would be nice to hear those stories, those opinions from the people in the community, rather than from a journalist or a reporter that may twist the story around and be a biased story. So hearing it straight from the people who are living it. So it's kind of like almost blurring the lines of news and opinion, and blurring them so that it's so obvious that it is from that person's perspective, and you can take it or leave it. And so that's what we thought.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, that's great.
So we did have one other burning thing that I'm glad to have heard all the other tables that didn't come up, but realizing that the use of our young people and really utilizing our young people in being active with our media, because we know that they really are the experts now with all those different social medias. And so how can we really engage them and have our medias, journalism and the news, how can we involve them in that process? Because they are the ones who are left with our communities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, these have been fantastic ideas, and really not these are all things that seem doable, don't they? It's not like pie in the sky vision, you know. It's a matter of talking to one another. It's a matter of educating one another. It's a matter of being aware of involving our young people. And then being aware of the possibilities that exist today through social marketing, citizen journalism, and so forth. So congratulate yourselves on wonderful suggestions to build this partnership.
Hi, this is Kathleen Randolph with Access Sacramento. I'm here with Larry Lee of the Sacramento Observer, which is the oldest black newspaper in the Sacramento region. He's here at the meeting where we've been discussing the topic of how does the media influence the way you feel about your neighborhood. Larry, what will you take back from this meeting and how will it impact the newspaper?
Well, I think this was a great opportunity for community members to be involved and engaged with the members of the media from a variety of areas. And I think it's always enlightening and refreshing to be able to get an aspect of how people are feeling about the media and what influences them.
Right. And now I am going to turn it over to Carol, who's going to recap some of the ideas from the first two sessions.
I think it's interesting to see how quickly you all form community around your table, right? Yeah, you connected, you talked, you introduced yourself, you shared your ideas, you argued, fussed at each other, and you're all just engaged, but then you all agreed that you were the best table, right? Okay. And that's really what came through on a lot of your comments, that there's a certain amount of pride in your communities that you don't necessarily see reflected in the media. Some of the themes and the words that I saw repeating over and over, number one being all South Sac neighborhoods are lumped together in media reports. South of the river is South Sacramento, and north of the river is individual neighborhoods, Natomas or North Highlands, and others were mentioned. So that seems to be a very sensitive issue, that everyone who lives in any South Sac neighborhood is identified as South Sac. The other words, unfortunately, that appeared over and over again are fear, negativity, division, and stereotypes. Beyond that, several times I saw reflected that media coverage doesn't necessarily impact or influence how I think about my neighbors, the implication being that I know my neighbors and my neighborhood, but it does influence the way I think about other neighborhoods because I don't have personal experience with those neighborhoods. And then the other comment that I saw over and over again was that media does not influence the way I think about my neighbor. And I think the implication is, and actually it was stated, that it's based on my personal experience, my personal core values, etc. So that's another interesting take. Any comments on what's summarized up here, or would anybody like to add to it? Yes.
My name is Shirley Banks, and I just wanted to, one of these other facts that we came up with was more positive news. Everybody said that, feel good, that was a big point. But I really thought that what we should have is more educational and informational news reporting, like different agencies, state agencies that change their policies or change their requirements of certain things, like DMV, new traffic laws or something. Have somebody come up with something, that's going to show and help somebody pass their driving test. Educational TV like that could actually just help everybody, maybe in different languages, I don't know, but first start in English. That's all, thanks.
Thank you. And that calls to mind that somebody else said, if you're reporting the same stories over and over again, it's not news.
Thank you, Carol. Really quickly, I kind of feel like sometimes that, our country is just really struggling, particularly on the issues of gangs, particularly in Hispanic and African American gangs. So with the media here, I guess my request would be, can we focus on that somehow to really dig a little deeper and I believe save this country?
I think one thing that would help in a discourse like this is having a clear definition of media. I think part of when I went around from table to table, you got a bunch of different kinds of views of what exactly is media. What is the definition of media? Is it our entertainment? Is it our radio? Is it television coverage? Is it your local television station reporting? Is it newspapers? Is it online? So there's so many different things, and obviously we're in a world of multimedia and all these different things. But I think part of what allows us to have a good, clear focus on our discussion would be defining on what specifically is media. And then I would encourage everyone also take the energy from this and engage your media outlets. Those, those that are in the room that you now have access to that maybe you didn't have access to, make sure and reach out to them.
Wow, that was a good question, and it sounds like a good question for our next forum.
Hi, I'm Michael Witten. South Sacramento really puts on a lot of great functions that help the high school and just everybody in South Sacramento. The Visions is one of that. We have the ethnic fairs, I believe it is, where different people from all backgrounds get together and they share their different qualities of life that people aren't aware about. We put on a disaster fair, just all kinds of things with the Visions group, and Southgate Rec is a big part of what I do, and they help us out a lot. But I mean, we get South Sac involved in a lot of positive things, and if that would get, some of that stuff would get covered, it would just help the image a whole lot.
One of the things about media is that it's a commercial endeavor. It's there to make money. And as a result of that, in a great deal, media actually makes the news. What they cover is news, and what they don't cover is not news. And you were asking for a couple more key points on the negative side, maybe, was that the news is biased. And yeah, I think that's, and commercial, of course.
I work in media, and I have the chance to work with community television, with Access Sacramento before. And I just want to commend, and I want to say something about the people in here. We need to support Access Sacramento, because it's the only one who's doing this kind of discourse in the community. Nobody else is doing it. So we have ethnic media, could be newspaper, could be radio, could be television, could be internet. And we are in the community, and I know that because I've seen them around. Main media is not in there. unless there is a commercial and unless there is money involved in there. So we all need to make them accountable because we are the community, and they supposed to be covering us, not only the bad news, but the good news. So now, let me close with this. We need to support Access Community Television because it's the only place that everybody has a voice. And all in here, we need to go and fill those papers that Ron has, Mr. Cooper, sorry, that Ron has, and support this because we have a voice. Everybody who want to talk in here tonight have a chance to hold the microphone. That doesn't happen in main media because they have a time constraint because there is money involved. So ladies and gentlemen, we need to support free television, free access to everybody. And I'm just going to close with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. How do you like this process? Good? Everybody got to talk? Anybody still have a burning urge? If so, I'm going to invite you to come back to the next time. Joanne, would you like to close for us?
Sure would. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for your activism. This is a great group. Every table was the best table because these, you are people who are really working to make our neighborhoods, our country a better place. And I just really salute you for coming out and being part of this. It was a really a wonderful experience to be participating with your organizers and your leadership within CARE and the Visions group here. It was terrific for us, and we think we had a wonderful evening together, and we look forward to doing more. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm here with Betty Willman. She is the president of the Parkway Estates Association, and she was a part of this group meeting today. Betty, just wanted to ask you, what did you get from it, and what will you take back to your organization?
Well, I find it was very enlightening because it gave different viewpoints. And so it might encourage us to be more active in our community, and maybe we can bring back some food for thought.
This was a very informational and educational get-together with neighborhood people and of all walks of life, and it was very mind-opening to the media and what it is to everybody in Sacramento. I was very impressed.
Hi, I'm here with Ron Cooper, who is the executive director of Access Sacramento and a co-sponsor for this event tonight. Ron, just wanted to get your thoughts on, the things that came out of this meeting and going forward, like how do you want to encompass this into Access Sacramento?
Well, I think we learned a lot tonight. There was a common theme of folks in South Sacramento County feeling that traditional media, commercial media, bypasses a lot of good stories, community events and activities here in the community. So there were some community representatives here that I think were paying close attention to that. But going forward, our plan is we're seeking grant funds to develop neighborhood news bureaus and training for South County residents who would like to become community correspondents, to seek from the storytellers within the many communities and ethnically diverse communities in Sacramento to come forward to form actual news bureaus where they would contribute pictures and video and audio and text stories about their community as only they can tell it, and then we would put that on a common website that we are building called asisonline.tv, and it will be shared with commercial media, so it'll be a source and lead generator for local grassroots hyper-local journalism. And we think that's really the only way to represent the really incredible diversity of the community, is to give that voice to the individuals and organizations that live here.
Thank you very much, Ron. And thank you to all of you out there that have watched this show tonight. Please, please, please get involved with your local community. Get involved in these type of events. contact Ron Cooper and all the individuals at Access Sacramento about becoming involved as either a volunteer or someone like myself who's an intern. It really is fulfilling and rewarding, and you do and can impact your community. Thank you so much. Thank you.
When we were thinking about how to set this event up, we wanted to create a process that would allow for the most voices to be heard. In your traditional forum, you have a panel of speakers, and they each get to give their spiel. Sometimes they take a long time, and it reduces the amount of time that the other participants had to engage in the process, to ask questions, to get answers. We created a process that allowed speakers to make an initial statement and then integrated them into the group so that people can have conversations in small groups. And what happened was very satisfying for me, because as the tables reported out, you saw that people had bonded and taken ownership of their work product. And throughout the evening, they were very animatedly engaged in conversation. So when we design a process like this, it's not with any specific outcome in mind, except to create an opportunity for people to have a good dialogue about topics that matter to them. And this was, I think, a unique opportunity for everyday citizens, members of the community, to have a conversation, share their thoughts and concerns with people who are in key decision-making positions within the media. So I'm excited about that.
Well, as someone who was a part of the process, I have to say that I really do believe it was very effective and efficient, and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you very much, Carol. I look forward to another meeting.